what we are witnessing is a charge that is moving through Sean Gathwright's body. I know a lot of you are saying that he's stupid or etc. How did he not know this? But that's not what's happening. And I'm going to go further and break down his astrological chart, and we're going to see how this moment is just adding up. All right. What you see, right, is an energy, and the energy is charged and it's been building up for months. And this is the peak moment where it deflates. The charge hit his body before his mind can catch up, because the thing that just collapsed was not a thought but a belief that he's been carrying since he committed this crime. And that belief is that he might still get away with it. And when that belief collapses, you can see it happen in the footage in a way that makes it clear that this is not a reaction to the verdict, but the end of something that has been running in him for a long time. Footage shows him crying at some point, his head down and his body shaking. And then the crying stops and you can see his face go flat and his body settle under a weight that was not visible a moment ago. And that weight, I would say, would be Saturn. What the camera is catching now is not a performance of grief or shock. It is the absence of performance entirely. And the absence is one of the rarest things you can see in another person on film. He's not choosing to show us this. This is something that is just happening. It's the energy that is dispersing from him. The stillness that follows the tears is not the same event as the tears, because the crying is his body reacting, while the stillness is Gathwright's psyche registering what has actually happened. And that distinction matters for understanding what you are watching. Gathright carried the belief that he might still get away with it into the courtroom, and he had been carrying it since the day of the crime, probably without knowing it was there, because it is the kind of belief that runs in the background and makes it possible to keep functioning when consequences are still theoretical. The verdict ended that, not gradually and not partially, but all at once, and everything he had been using to hold that belief together came apart inside him the moment the verdict was read. The Greek understood that guilt does not come from outside. They gave that guilt a name, and that's called the Erinyes, or Erinyes, something like that, and the Furies. They described them as relentless, not because they were cruel, but because truth, once it has full access, does not negotiate. What the footage captures is not Gathright being punished by a court. It is Gathwright's own internal furies arriving, now that the last structure keeping them at a distance has collapsed. His Saturn pretty much collapsed on him, or whatever he was holding up. I'm going to check his chart to make sure. After the tears, but definitely Saturn, because Saturn is also shame and guilt. But I'll go over that some more because I spent so much time trying to figure out this video. After the tears, then after the freeze, the footage shows him getting up and walking, and he does not resist the officers beside him. What looks like resignation is not resignation. He knows the descent is necessary, and he is choosing to take his own steps into it. The Greek called this a katabasis, the willing descent. His will is still present and still moving, but it is pointed downwards now into the passage rather than towards escape. His will, which is your Mars or the fire aspects of yourself, that's your will, is pointed downward. He has to go down into the underground. That's where he's headed. And jail, the underground, is one of the undergrounds. The footage shows that his eyes going unfocused and his face going flat in a way that is different from the earlier stillness. What you can see now is his inner narrator going quiet, the voice that has been running since the crime and constructing the story of who he was and what might still happen. What is left when that voice stops is just watching, with no agenda and no story attached to it. This is the witness, not a spiritual achievement, but a watcher surfacing now that the old self has nowhere left to stand. This is what you are actually watching.